You are about to enter the Shockwaves Skull Sessions podcast on shockwaveskullsessions.com. And now your host, Bob Nalbandian.
All right, Shockwaves Skull Sessions, podcast number 42. I got my partner here, Matt Hartnett.
What's going on, Bob?
And we got two great guests from Los Angeles, California, two old friends of mine. Of course, we got the one and only, the legend, Spacey T from Sound Barrier.
Yay! Where's the button to push for the applause?
I'll give you a courtesy laugh.
Come on, Matt. We got to get those effects going. My mistake. I said two guests. We actually have three guests. I guess 3.5 guests if we're going to count our buddy Gary Shirtlift, who's hanging out here after his podcast. But we got Lisa Marie as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Spacey's partner in crime. What's up, Lisa? Can you hear us? Lisa Marie.
Yes. Oh.
All right. And of course, the man yelling out for the scream button is the one and only Scoonie Gee. What's up, Scoonie?
Woohoo, yeah. Where's my Scoonie Gee snack?
And of course, joining us on this too, as I mentioned, Gary Shirtlift, who's going to chime in here and there to add a little bit of humor to this podcast.
Yeah, I'll
perhaps.
sit here and laugh.
He's the comedian in the gang here, we should say. So I guess today's topic, Matt, this is something Matt and I were kind of discussing, a topic that comes up often in the community about how a lot of the young kids today, you're reading about how Gibson and all these other guitar companies and Guitar Center and Sam Ash are losing so many customers. A lot of these companies are, you always hear different things. They're going bankrupt. They're doing this. They're doing that. But the bottom line is kids today are not playing instruments and they're not playing rock and roll. More and more of the music, as we all know, the new generation of music tends to be more EMD, less rock and roll, less, instruments, so to speak, either turntables or, people are using auto-tune drum machines. You could get away with a laptop nowadays without having to, buy instruments. And that's kind of really put a lean to the downfall of rock and roll music. And so I know both of you guys have a kind of like a school of rock. I know Scoonie, you have the Scoonie Gee and Friends. You do a lot of charity work. Kind of explain what you do, Scoonie.
Well, we started a program. It's actually called Kids Rock Studio. And the concept for our program is a little different. I know they have School of Rock out there, and there's a few different other kind of schools that do programs with kids. When I started my program, I just thought back to when I was a little kid. And when I was a little kid, I used to jam with the older cats in the neighborhood, the more seasoned musicians, because when I would get together and jam with my friends, they just weren't at the level that I was at. So the older guys were pretty seasoned players, and I loved playing with them. And they would kind of slap me around and, hey, come back next week, get your chops together and come back. So when I started my program, I wanted to take prodigy-type kids and mix them in with players, session players, touring players, players like Spacey T. And the kids got really excited because, again, like you say, they're in their rooms learning on YouTube. They're prodigies. They're learning these great riffs. But then they get together with their friends, 10, 11 years old, and those kids can't play because they're just not at that level. So that's what Kids Rock Studio is all about. It's taking a couple of kids. We'll take a kid guitar player and a kid drummer, and then we'll mix them with a seasoned bass player and a seasoned musician singer. And now you got a 4-piece band that really gels together. And the kids are just so happy because now finally they're playing with musicians that are kind of at their level.
Awesome. And you know what? I think that's so important because so many kids today, they'll play individually. You could teach someone to play guitar or drums or whatever, but really the key is for these kids to get in a band together and get that experience of learning from other musicians, playing off other musicians, writing music together and jamming together. And I think that's really cool. Yeah,
it's super important because, like you say, you can have a kid in the backyard shooting basketball. He can hit 30 shots in a row, but then you put him on a team and you put some defense around him. It's going to be a little difficult for him. And same with these kids. They're learning on YouTube. They're in their bedrooms. I tell you, I get these prodigy kids, and the first couple of gigs that they play with the adults, they're just frightened to death, and they cannot play as well as they normally can. But after about the second or third show, they get kind of used to having musicians being on a team. They really rise to the occasion. And nothing brings me more joy than seeing those kids once they light up and they get in the band. So I agree with you 100%. Got to get these kids in bands.
Hey, Spacey T, I know this is going to be another long intro. We got to give a little background to my man Spacey T, who I've known since the very, very early 80s. Of course, the guitarist, songwriter for the groundbreaking band Sound Barrier, the first all-black hard rock metal band to be signed to a major label, MCA. I used to see these guys back in the clubs many a times, did many shows with Metallica, Steeler, Rat, Motley Crue. I remember seeing Motley Crue, Rat, and Sound Barrier at Radio City once. I saw you at the Whiskey, at the Troubadour. So many great, great shows. And still going strong. I got to say, Sound Barrier's got a brand new record coming out. You've been working on it for a while. You've been releasing a couple songs here and there. You, Bernie K, Stanley E.
Yeah. Well, actually, we decided to just we want to make sure it's the best music it could be coming from us. So it's taking a little longer than we wanted it to be, but it's going to be the best, and it's going to be worth the wait because, man, we just decided to make it, like I said, the best it could be.
Awesome. And, of course, you guys got Tom Morello producing, correct?
Yeah, we're working with Tom. Tom's a great guy, man. We just saw his solo gig here not too long ago, and it was really awesome. Very, very
cool. I know he was obviously a longtime fan as well of Sound Barrier. And when can we expect? I know. I've seen Bernie post a couple songs here and there. Are these actually tracks from the album that he's posting, or is it other songs that he did solo songs?
Yeah, that's Bernie's solo stuff that he's working on.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is really cool. But I would say that our stuff will probably be out probably the middle of next year sometime.
All right. Well, definitely looking forward to that. And of course, we will keep you posted here on Skull Sessions. And now we got that out of the way. Spacey and Lisa, kind of talk about what you guys are doing. I know you've got something similar to what Scoonie's doing.
Yeah, so we taught at School of Rock for a while, way back in the day. We started in 2007, and we were playing some shows with Tom actually, and the director Carl became a great friend of ours, hired me to be the vocal teacher at School of Rock Hollywood. We were there for a little while, and then we also had our own school called the Rock Ship in Highland Park, where we taught vocals, keyboards, drums, guitar, bass. And, Bob, we did the whole concept of private lessons as well as, band jamming, a full band, and then also band performances. So we definitely agree that it's necessary to play with other people, and you're only as good as the people you play with, really, So,
right.
But then it moved on to teaching with an after-school program. We've been there now for 13 years. And we teach the same concept. It's called the Rock Band Project. And we're primarily at LeConte Middle School in Hollywood. And we've been applying for this grant every year from the California Arts Council. It's called the Artist Resident Grant. And it allows us as artists in the industry to go into the public school system and teach. So that's what Tracy and I have been doing together besides our duo, Praise the Dead. We teach the same concept, playing band in a band, how to play in a band, how to be a performer, how to write songs. We also teach them how to read music, music reading 101 from what are the notes in the treble clef and the bass clef and the whole nine, because we want to teach them how to be great musicians and how to actually play instruments. So I'm glad that you're touching on this subject because it has been cut out of schools, and programs like the Lacer After School program is something that's helping keep, music alive, and the Rock Band Project is helping keep rock fans happy. And the new rocker is coming up,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's something else. A lot of the schools have been cutting back. I know a good friend of mine, Martin Anderson, does a big charity event in the Pacific Palisades area, or actually Palos Verdes, and he's had people, from Stone Temple Pilots and all these different bands contribute and perform, and they're raising money for the schools. And I didn't realize it was that bad with the schools, that the schools are really cutting back on a lot of these programs. So it's really up to these, private schools, like what you're doing yourself. And I'm sorry, I did neglect to mention a Praise the Dead project that Spacey T and Lisa Marie have going on. So before we get into that, talk a little bit about Praise the Dead. I know you put out a CD recently.
Yeah, we put out a CD a few years ago. Actually, it was produced by Carl Restivo, and we worked on it, mastered by Doug Pinnick, and it was a really nice little EP. We wanted to do 3 EPs, the heavy, the deep, and the light. And after we released the heavy, unfortunately, I was in a little accident. I had to have a couple surgeries and recover from that, and then we recorded our second EP with Doug Pinnick, and unfortunately we had a big crash of the computer system, and we ended up losing a lot of tracks. So we just kind of recorded another single we're about to release, and, just being independent, recording independently, and working with our friends still, and we have that to look forward to, and hopefully more shows in 2020. So the big goal is to release the second EP in 2020 and get out there and play a bunch of live shows.
Very cool. So we'll talk a little bit about, let's get into this, basically. Some of your experiences with the young generation. Now, do you kind of see it more like the parents are kind of pushing them, or are they generally into playing rock and roll and performing in a band, or is it something, because I know, as a kid, sometimes your parents force you, back in the day it was piano lessons. You got to take piano lessons. No, I want to play rock. No, you got to start with piano lessons. Is it kind of that kind of vibe, or is it, are these kids really enthusiastic about playing rock and roll?
I would say it's a little bit of all of that, because some of the parents, which is pretty crazy, are fans of mine, actually.
Right on.
Telling me that their dads and their moms have my albums and have some Sound Barrier records and stuff like that. But the kids turn up onto a lot of stuff, and what Lisa and I try to do is, for example, we do a song by Billie Eilish, for example, and we turned it into a total rock song. You know what I mean? Just to show kids that it can be, you could turn any style of music into any style, basically. But they look at it like rock band. Where are you going today? I'm going to rock band class. So we just try to make everything they do have a rock edge to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
So a lot of they turned us on to bands like Imagine Dragons and all these bands that normally even heard of, really.
When these kids, when they want, did they sort of apply to get into your guys' school, or how does it work? Do you guys recruit, musicians, younger kid musicians, or they just kind of apply and inquire themselves?
Well, when it comes to the Rock Band Project, this is open to middle school students that are registered to the Lacer After School program. They have to be registered, and then they can go to any class that Lacer offers. Some of them are sports, but we're music department. And so if the kids want to take our class, they have to keep a certain grade average to have our rock band class. And that it's pretty much free. We're paid for our class anyway. They're all paid for by the CAC, California Arts Council. Mm-hmm. So the kids get free music, which is super awesome. But I don't know. I'd love to hear about Scoonie Gee's, how he gets his kids in there.
So what Tracy and Lisa Marie are doing is really on a big scale. They're on a really grand scale. I'm the little small kind of mom and pop shop. I'll have anywhere from 4 to 5 students at a time, because it's basically just me and then my friends that come in and help mentor these kids. So for me, it's just word of mouth, and a lot of it is from Instagram. I have a pretty nice social media presence. So a lot of the kids see me on there, and then they see their friends working together with me, and they just reach out and contact me through that way. And then the last way we have our own website, which is www.kidsrockstudio.org. And folks and their parents and their kids can go to that website and fill out a contact form, and we've gotten students from that as well. But mostly it's social media, and I would have to say mostly Instagram is where kids reach out to me, because you don't need to be 16 or 17 years old to have an Instagram account. You can be 8, 9, 10 years old and have an Instagram account. So that's how I get most of my kids, is actually through Instagram.
And you get them at that age, 8, 9, 10 years old?
Yeah, we had a little girl, 6 years old, come and play some piano for us. She actually opened up one of our shows for us at 6 years old. So yeah, we get them pretty young. But 10, 11, 12 is usually kind of our age that we kind of look for. Is and then 17 is the cutoff. Right. After they turn 18, they're kind of on their own.
That's awesome. Start them young. It's funny because being, all of us, including me, we all come from the old school days of, you know, I know obviously, you know, we talked about Spacey with Soundberry, and I know Scoonie, you've been in many bands since the early 80s on, playing the clubs and just, you know, hacking it out. And it was very competitive. You had to rehearse every day, get your chops up, write original music. You know, you didn't have the cover tribute thing. I mean, of course, you had your cover bands, but to really make it, and if you were going to be serious about music, you know, you had to get in a room, rehearse, write your own songs, practice the show, get out there and play. And you would have to play 50, 60, 70 shows before, you know, getting noticed by labels and that kind of thing. Obviously, it's changed over the years. And, you know, it's not the days where, you know, you had YouTube to learn off stuff. I mean, if you wanted to learn how to play, you either had to go to a concert, you know, wait till AC/DC or whatever band comes into town. Or, you know, if you're lucky enough, you could stay up till, you know, 1 a.m, watch Don Kirshner's rock concert or one of these shows to actually see visually, or learn off a record. Keep going back and forth to try to learn off the record, you know. So obviously it's changed a lot. And nowadays you're seeing a lot of these prodigy kids. You mentioned about the prodigy kids. I know on YouTube you see them all the time. Kids 8, 9, 10 years old, you know, playing, you know, Zeppelin and different stuff.
No, I was just going to say that I think it's just the thing where to be cool nowadays, like you have to be into a certain type of thing or a certain type of music. And a lot of the kids that come to our classes, they don't care about trying to be cool like that. They just want to rock out, you know, where the majority of the kids, they just listen to the pop stations and whatever on the radio, and they don't really care about it. So it makes it seem like the rock thing is dying, completely dying, but there's a lot of kids that really still love it. So I think it has a lot of hope still, you know.
All right. Yeah. That's great to hear. Yeah.
And also too, with just the evolving of, you know, human, like evolution of human, like the kids are so much smarter. Like every single year I have students that are just blowing me away, and I'll show them some crazy, you know, I'm like, yeah, check out this. I've been working on it. And I'll show them on the drums, and they're, oh, like this. And they're playing like Bonham, you know, quadruplets or triplets, and it's really easy for them. And I think it's because they have access, you know, to the internet, and they can, you know, get all these lessons and do all that. That's really part of it too. I mean, and even just like classes like this, like when you have a rock band class, it's like, wow, I never had anything like that growing up, you know. So of course, I think it's just they're evolving and incredible, and I'm amazed every day at the kids now.
So
we have a student, Irving Middle School right now. He is in 6th grade, and he can play any on the piano that we want to, like, we ask him to play. He can play 2 pianos at the same time, with his left hand playing all the bass notes and his right hand playing all the melody lines. Wow. Great. And so we're amazed by him. I ask him questions about theory, you know. Does this not work here, man? It's good. They keep us on our toes. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you guys find like a lot of your students, because they are rock fans, is it because they were raised on rock with their parents, you know, rock and roll fans, or is it more so just they just happen to hear it and like it on their own, and it just they obviously don't have a lot of their peers that obviously listen to the same type of music? But a lot of them, do they come from that background, you know, via their family and so forth, or is this something they kind of discovered on their own?
For me, almost every kid that I've met that's been into rock, it's been because their parents were playing it in the car or playing it at home. I haven't really met any kids yet that just on their own discovered rock and roll the way. Because my parents didn't really listen to rock; they listened to more soul and R&B. So my neighborhood and guys in my neighborhood that were into rock. That's kind of how I got into it. So it's a little different for these kids now because, like you say, a lot of kids just aren't into that nowadays. I mean, you know, Spacey probably has a better idea because they touch more kids than I do. Are there any kids coming to you guys that, you know, they just picked up rock and roll from somewhere else other than their parents?
Well, one thing I can say too, which is so cool, is that the game Rock Band, man, all those kids knew. They come up and they'd be like, Miss, you know about Led Zeppelin? And like, it's just so cool. Like, they were trying to turn us on to all these new bands they're discovering. I know, it's so funny. I guess Tom Morello was the captain on Rock Band. And so these kids are getting turned on to all these, which is like classic rock now, right? AC/DC and Metallica and all that stuff. So they kind of, like, a lot of our students who up to our class, wanting to play rock because of that game. So I don't know.
That was a huge influence.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot. And then I think too, the parents, like Scoonie said, the parents turn them onto it too, And then, I mean, think about this. Rock music, I mean, everybody thinks they rock now, man. Everybody's calling themselves rock stars. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks that music rocks. Country's more rock than anything, It's just weird. Like, what is it even like rock,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we try to teach them like the different styles and show them, look at this is jazz, this is blues, this is rock. And once they grasp it, they are definitely loving rock. So I don't know. I think we have to turn on more kids to rock for sure. But thank goodness their parents are still rocking out.
Right. I want to ask you guys, what's your feelings about how production has changed over the days when, you guys were in the studio? I mean, to record a record, you would have to go to a big studio. And nowadays, people do it in their, on their laptop. They do it with Pro Tools or whatever their newest device is. I mean, now they probably don't even need Pro Tools. But nowadays, with the production, with auto-tuning, and you could basically do everything via computer, drums, any kind of synthetic sounds. You don't need a band. You don't need real instrumentation. Has that played a huge effect on, from your eyes, teaching these kids, because they could easily take the lazy way out. I think kids nowadays are going, why should I spend all this money on a guitar, practice, when I could just pick myself up a laptop and just, synthesize all the music and, spin records. It's much easier and it costs less,
Well, I mean, what's the biggest song this year, right?
Sure.
The Old Town Road. I mean, a young kid just created that on his own on SoundCloud and became this mega star. Yeah. So kids will see that and it's like, well, why do I need to spend years to learn to play this guitar if I could just go ahead, like you said, Bob, just, do it from home and just buy a $15 little beat off of SoundCloud and create a song?
We were just talking about it, how it's kind of funny how, like, when we start our class every year, we always have like 35 kids in the class. And then as it goes on and on, we get less and less. And then we end up with like maybe 20 core kids because those kids find that it's too hard to play music for real.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we're making it look easy. When we're playing, we make it look easy. And then when they have to really work at it, they just bail out on it,
Yeah, they get tired of the exercises, and understanding that they have to build their strength and do exercises repetitively, and be repetitive because that's the way that it helps their muscle strength and flexibility. Doing the chromatic scale on guitar or a C major scale, that's how you do it. But they are so lazy because they were born into a world of convenience.
Yeah,
totally.
They're pretty much so it's hard for them to understand. I'm like, I was bleeding. I had bleeding blisters on my hands. Please, come on,
Yeah.
And I'm like, Bob said it the best when you were talking about how, for me, the way I learned how to play was like, like you said, I watched Don Kirshner's rock concert or listen to the radio or all my album collection. All the albums are white because I have to take the needle and put it back to the part I'm trying to learn over and over and over. And I tell the kids how jealous I am of them because I didn't have repeat. I was the repeat.
Right.
Picking up the needle, putting it back over that spot and putting it back, and that's the way I learned how to play. You didn't have like Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Hazel saying, this is how I played my big songs. This is how I did this. And a lot of these kids now, they have their videos online showing them how they play their favorite. You know what I mean? Tom Morello's about to do something like that as well,
You find the same thing with you, Scoonie, and some of your students?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword because it's great that they have better learning tools. I mean, there's a kid showed me another program where they can actually slow down a speedy solo.
I've heard that.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
They can slow it down and see see where the fingers are going, and so it's a great tool. But again, like when you started this thing off, I look at it the other way. I say, you know what, technology's a good thing, but let's take you and put you in a band and put you on a live stage, and let's see you play that speeded up solo the way that it was meant to be. And like I said, I haven't seen a kid yet that was that great that could just jump onto a stage, never played with a band before, and nail it. They're still missing that other side, the social side of being in a band, having a bass player and a guitar and a drummer and a singer, and then having an audience staring at you, waiting for you to deliver the goods. And so if we can just get our kids, I'm not even saying get them off of the computers, but if we can get them in front of people and in front of audiences and hanging out with their friends in the garage, that's kind of my goal with the whole thing, because it really, we need more of that. And the schools have taken that away.
Definitely.
We need more of that.
The audience feel.
Yeah. You gotta speak up, Gary. Go ahead.
I just did.
No, that is so true. I remember, I guess it was late 80s, early 90s. You guys probably remember when Hot Licks came out on video. You remember that? And it was like a big thing. You had, like I think Yngwie and Paul Gilbert. I know Marty Friedman did one. A lot of the shrapnel guitar shredders. Did you do one of those, Spacey?
No, but I have them.
Yeah.
I have a lot of them.
And that was a big thing. I mean, to get somebody to teach you. And these were on VHS videos.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And some of the greatest guitar today, like Tosin Abasi, in his interviews, he talks about that's how he learns, by watching those videos.
And those videos were expensive. They were like $30 each. I remember you have to pay. Now you could go online and search, millions of videos for free on YouTube.
Kids got it made.
Yeah, it's so accessible. No wonder there's so many prodigies out there, But too, any kid that wants to learn music can come to our program and they don't have to know anything at all, and we'll teach them how to play also. So that's how we discovered some talent as well, when they just were naturals and just got it right away. And then there's those that have to study it, and then there are those that cry about it and are too lazy and don't want it bad enough, and those are the ones that go to soccer.
Yeah. Got to weed them out.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think a lot of it, too, is because, these days, right, these kids... we were kids, right? We looked up to, it was all about the shredders. It was all about the guitarists, whether it was Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen or whoever it was. Yet these kids, it's looking up to the best DJ or EDM, DJ or something like that. I mean, there's just no. And another thing too is when we grew up, even with pop music in the '80s, for instance, or '70s, you'd have whether it was Prince or Billy Idol with Steve Stevens, and these guys played riffs. The Cars released. They had good riffs, guitarists where you'd hear that. And I want to play guitar. The pop music now, what they call rock, like I know you guys mentioned earlier, that Imagine Dragons, that's considered a rock band now, which never would have been considered a rock band back in in the early days. Yeah,
I was like, this is rock, exactly. So that's why I question it. Like everybody's considered rock pretty much. It's so weird, even though they don't rock. I'm just so confused.
You're not alone.
No, it is crazy how it's. But you really hit it on the head, saying everyone today, and not just with music, but this isn't a podcast about ragging on the millennials or the younger generation. But the fact is, everyone wants that instant.
It's not.
Well, I guess it is. But everyone wants that instant success or that instant
gratification.
And instant gratification. That's the word I'm looking for. Not to mention, you talk about Matt, how when we grew up with all the guitar heroes, and I'm sure Spacey, I know you grew up, with Jimi Hendrix and all these, Eddie Hazel you were talking about, the same with you, Scoonie. These were our heroes growing up. Nowadays, the kids today don't have these heroes, whether it could be a drummer, John Bonham, or Cozy Powell, or a guitar player.
Well, like I always like to say, too, that thank goodness there's an underground. Because a lot of this music we're talking about is still thriving in the underground, but like as far as the pop music industry, a lot of these people don't know about it. Like mainstream, they don't really know about it. But the underground, like every once in a while, somebody gets plucked from that underground and they can change the world, That's how I look at it. Because there's some great guitar players that in the underground right now, and there's some great musicians. The sad thing is, though, that there's not going to be still a guitar player that's famous before a famous drummer or bass player or something, Where back in the day, there's famous bass players and famous drummers, but their job got so eaten up by electronics that, when's the last time you heard of a famous drummer getting really successful in music,
That's true.
But there could be a guitar player. like Tom Morello, for example, is not doing too bad right now to be a black guitarist. You know what I mean?
Sure, but even you look at Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine started in the early 90s. If you want to go back to his former band Lockup, that was even before that they were playing the club. So we're talking, 25 years. But it's funny how we look at those bands as the newer generation, and they're, you look at bands like, Ray, or, even System of a Down and all that, and you think, oh, the newer metal bands, and it's like, shit, they were 20. That's 2 decades
years ago,
and now they're reuniting next year.
That's twice as long as Zeppelin were together.
Classic band. Yeah.
Well,
crazy.
we really need somebody newer than all of those guys. You know what I mean? We need somebody that's in their early, late teens, early 20s right now that can put guitar on its ear right now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or rock music in general. Just somebody we never heard of that came out of nowhere and just go, whoa, I never thought of it like that before. And it's full on rocking, just blowing everybody away like today's Jimi Hendrix or today's Freddie Mercury / Jimi Hendrix / Phil Lynott, Prince all in one. You know what I mean?
Well, they are out there. They're all on YouTube because I've seen many a video on there of whether it's a kid playing a guitar or I'm a drummer, so I pay attention to the drummers, and there are drummer prodigies all over YouTube.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about, Gary. A lot of these kids are individuals, but they're not in bands. So, there are these prodigy kids that'll play to a record. They'll play along to
they'll play covers.
When it comes to, like what Scoonie and Spacey were saying, when you get them together to play with a band, they're intimidated. They don't really,
it's their awkwardness of being, introverted.
Absolutely. I'll give you an idea. Like for 3 years, I host an event at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. It's the last Thursday of every month, and all my kids and my students, they open up that show, and we do the mix. We mix them in with adults, and for 3.5 years, we've only done classic rock covers. Well, about 4 months ago, I cut them off. I said, no more covers. I want you guys to start writing your own original songs, because I never did covers before.
Good idea.
I kind of got burnt out on it. I said, now I want everybody to go home and do their homework and start writing original songs. That was 4 months ago. We haven't had a kid perform with us in 4 months because they're lost. They're like, half of them quit.
You mean I got to write my own shit? What the fuck?
What happened? Wait a minute. You didn't tell us we had to do that. So half of them quit, and then the other half are still writing. It's so hard. So there we go. We got prodigies, and like you say, drummers online. They can play tons of stuff. Send them in with a band and say, okay, I want you guys to write a song and come back to me in a couple of days with the song that you wrote.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what's missing. The creative element that is missing in music.
Everything's emulation now. Yeah, it's
people
not
could always say there's
exactly.
all these new bands, Greta Van Fleet, but I'm like, they're not doing anything.
Led Zeppelin light.
For one, the Zeppelin thing is overly obvious, and not just the influence, but he's doing the whole Robert Plant. I mean, every little thing is like, and the songs just aren't that great or original. I understand there's not a whole lot of originality you could maybe do in rock and roll these days.
I think Rival Sons could be the best example of a band that took all those influences of all those bands we grew up with and kind of made it their own. I mean, when you listen to them, that singer is just fucking nuts.
They're a great band. They've got similar influences to stuff. I still don't think they've got those really great standout songs, but I mean, obviously a very talented
I'll agree.
Great singer.
Yeah.
Great band.
You hear the brilliance, you hear the musicianship. It's just the song structure. You're like, okay, is that something I'd listen to over and over?
Well,
or
stuff
is
that you've heard
something...
before, that's,
Yeah, exactly.
One band I saw live, a lot of people talk about, I saw their very first show they did, I think in LA, called The Struts, a British band. On record, they're kind of more of a pop, hard pop band, but live, I tell you, that singer has got so much charisma. He looks like Freddie Mercury from like the Sheer Heart Attack days, and just moves great on stage. And they're very British. I mean, I was hanging out with them after, and they all grew up on, they're talking about Slade and early Sweet and all these great British bands from back then, early Queen, T-Rex.
Yeah, well, I have hope, or I wouldn't be doing what I do. So, and you guys sound like you have hope as well. So maybe we'll find that next guitar hero that Spacey T's talking about, because the door's wide open. I mean, it's wide open. I mean, who's going to step through that door? Who's going to be that next? And I'm not talking about like a Greta Van Fleet, because that's just too close to Led Zeppelin for me. I mean, let's get an original young band that comes out.
Yeah.
Just lights our. I mean, I remember the first time I heard Van Halen. I had to pull off. I was in my car. I had to pull off the freeway and park my car to look. I was like, "What the hell? What the hell is this?" We need something like that today. We need a band, a young band to come out that's just torching everybody. Where you got to pay attention to that, and I have hope that it's coming.
And we have hope too. That's why we got you guys on this podcast. And I want to thank you guys again, not just for being on the show, obviously, but for doing what you're doing and really pushing that. I know, Scoonie, you do a ton of charity work as well. And you're really keeping that flagship alive for rock and roll. And again, what they say about getting together with bands, getting together, meeting, writing together. The kids today lacking so much. They don't go out. I mean, it's even like, back in the day, you would go out and play football with your friends, or you would go jam with your friends. Nowadays, everyone's just on their computer or their iPhone. They're not socializing. And
they're staring at screens.
Yeah. People think, oh, well, I'm on Facebook socializing. That isn't interacting with human beings. And this is something that I think is going to help kids.
And I commend the three of you guys for doing what you're doing. I think it's fantastic as well. More power to you.
Yeah, and we're helping make, better humans, rock out on the stage of life, And a lot of our students, they're like underprivileged kids, they're poor kids from Hollywood, basically, and they have told us they would be in gangs or they would be, doing bad things if they didn't have rock band class.
You're helping them get a way out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what you guys are doing too, that's been a missing piece, because of the downfall of the music industry, is that there's no more artist development, right? These musicians and bands they're not getting signed to 3 to 5 record deals to help, they can take their time and slowly build up, and they don't have that anymore. So that's something I think that you guys, which is great too, is you guys are doing, is you're giving them a way to develop that record companies used to do, labels used to do, and that obviously don't do anymore.
And the kids these days are so ingrained of getting the pot of gold right away because they have so much instant access to everything. They don't understand. It's like, you got to work at it, man.
The ones that have made it, it's unbelievable. And I told Tracy too, I'm like, I know we're going to see kids, our students are going to be superstars. And now we got some students out there that are signed to labels and are touring in the world. We have students that are in Europe right now. They're doing big things. So it's wild. Get out. I've really stuck it out. And then there's others that have gone on to become lawyers or get married and have families, and they just have it together, and they come and visit us still. It's amazing to see them, all the kids, but it's just awesome. So yeah, it's a good thing.
And they have you to thank you for it.
Great feeling,
You know what I would love to see, and I think would be a huge thing, and I don't know why hasn't been a network to pick up on what you guys are doing to make with all the stupid reality shows that are out there, having you guys teach kids, because you see on Access and all this stuff like Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, they're 50 or they're guys our age that never made it as doing this. These guys already, they're doctors, lawyers. They already have careers and jobs. It's just a money. It's just a stupid thing. It's not helping the young kids of rock and roll. But if they were to do something with, Scoonie Gee, Spacey T, and Lisa Marie, you like that rhyme there? If they had you guys on a reality show.
Bob's rapping and he didn't know it.
With these young kids and showing that young kids still want to rock, I think a lot of, younger generation will go, wow, that is cool. I want to be like that. That's something you guys should pitch.
Look
Gary,
at Bob
get on
spitting
it.
the science, buddy.
That's what kids relate to today. They see that on TV. I could be a TV celebrity. I want to do that.
I want it, really, because we've been hired to teach rock stars kids lessons, and we go and I'm teaching them, and they have a $5,000 drum set sitting in their bedroom, and I'm just stoked on their kit. And I'm trying to talk to them about their drums. They're like, we went to Aspen for Christmas, they don't even care, man.
They don't know what they got.
So, yeah, we want to create more of those kids and see how fun and how great it can be,
Well,
that's
sounds
a good
like
idea. I think you pitched it already.
Well, it's just to have a network that's interested in doing it. I think it would be huge, especially seeing that you've got students already that, as you mentioned, Lisa Marie, you said, a lot of these guys, kids that you have taught are already touring Europe. They got signed to record deals. So it just shows right there that, these are serious kids and that you're doing your job. You're building careers for these young generation of kids.
I feel like Mama there. I feel like I birthed them all. I'm always shedding tears. I try not to.
I think the bottom line is that we should all learn from this is Europe is where you want to go to
Absolutely.
explore
I think
your
there are a lot more.
artistic side.
Well, Europe, I think, with the bands and the way, the festivals, everything, rock and roll, particularly hard rock.
They embrace
and
it more.
Matt, I know Matt, for those that don't know, Matt Harnett also teaches kids, autistic kids. You've been doing for quite a few years, and you say there's a lot of hard rock metal kids that you've encountered.
When I was teaching down in LA, I mean, I worked at as a non-public school, and it was 18 to 22-year-old kids, and I mean, it was surprisingly, there was a lot of them. A lot of it, same thing. They had maybe brothers that listened to a lot of hard rock and metal. Or obviously, when you're a young kid and you have disabilities, you're going to have a certain, a lot more of an edge maybe that a kid that doesn't have disabilities will. And they're definitely drawn to the music, hard rock and metal. And it's great to see that, obviously. They use it just like a lot of us did as young kids. Maybe they feel like outcasts and misfits, and it's a way that they feel connected, or it helps them cope with that a lot better and stuff. And I mean, so I definitely see that with those type of kids, absolutely. But once again, they're kind of out of the mainstream, right? And just like rock in general, it's now become even more underground than I guess it ever has been.
Music is healing too. So.
Absolutely, mm-hmm.
Music is life.
Yeah,
that's right.
So in closing, guys, why don't we close this off? Scoonie Gee, why don't you start off?
Well, what I want to say is, for me, the cup is half full. So, with all this technology and all these things, and schools taking art out of their programs and things like that, I still look at it from a positive standpoint. And 3.5, almost 4 years into this charity with the kids, and we've had, it's not big numbers. We've had 87 kids come through our program. But one of those kids, just one, he came to us when he was 10 years old. He was a guitar player, and he was with us in the program for a couple of years. He's now a star on a hit TV show on Disney, and then he went on to do another show on Netflix.
Awesome.
Wow.
And so one kid, now did we change his life? I can't take credit for that. But what I do know is this, like Lisa Marie said, when these kids come to us, we're keeping them off the streets. And you don't know a lot of times what can happen in those situations. Mm-hmm. So we can't really see the effects of what we're doing with most of these kids. But again, if we can keep them off the streets and we can keep them engaged in music, something that they actually have to be creative in, I think they have a better chance in all areas of their lives, because this 10-year-old guitar player he was when he came to us, and he'll play guitar on a couple of episodes, but he's an actor, and so he's using his creativity in other ways. But I'd like to think that just coming to us and having that opportunity to be creative and express himself and not feel embarrassed to just do the things he likes to do, I think it affects all areas of their lives. So, I just want to keep the doors open for what I'm doing with Spacey, what Lisa are doing over there. And we just have to keep hope in our hearts that, we can change the lives and steer the careers of some of these kids.
You're a saint, dude.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely.
My hat's off to you.
Spacey and Lisa Marie.
All three of you. Sorry.
Any closing thoughts there?
I tend to agree with what Scoonie was saying, because we've been doing this for over 13 years now, and we're still getting our grant. And so we must be doing something right, and we still keep getting a lot of great kids, and every year it gets better and better. So it's a very positive situation, you know what I mean? And as long as that's going, there's going to be kids out there playing music, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you are. Stay that path, man.
Absolutely.
It sounds like you're really making a difference.
Lisa Marie.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say, like I always tell our students, just be kind to everyone, because you never know what anybody's struggle is. And I think it's beautiful that you guys are helping autistic children as well. We have some special needs students that we've taught over the years, and music is healing, and being able to express yourself is really important for these students. So we're so happy that we're able to do it, and we're going to keep doing it. Thank you so much for supporting us, and we're just going to keep at it. So look for us online, and later after school programs. Praise the Dead, Spacey T, Sound Barrier.
You got any
guys.
websites to promote?
Yeah, definitely. Like our situation is LAUSD, teaching at a middle school in Hollywood. So, if there's any parents out there that can hear, that are listening now, then, and their students are going to LeConte Middle School and they want to register them to the Laser After School program, they could take our rock band class. We teach a couple days a week. We also teach private lessons. And if you just look up Praise the Dead online, you can find us on all of the social media pages and get in touch with us that way. We're happy to do band coaching and, artist development, or just teach you how to play any instrument, So good deal. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate this.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, yeah.
Once
All right.
again, thank you all. Scoonie Gee, Lisa Marie, and Spacey T, Tracy Singleton. Definitely check out the new Sound Barrier. Is there any date that we have that you could predict that this new record will be coming out, Spacey?
Well, I can just say it's coming soon. So we really appreciate our fans being patient with us. We just want to make the listening experience something really great. So we just want to take our time and make it right. You know what I mean? So you got the Sound Barrier thing coming soon. You got the Praise the Dead single coming soon. And I also have another project called The Funk Experience, which is a tribute to original Funkadelic. So that stuff will be coming out soon as well.
All right. Very cool. And what do you got going on, Scoonie?
Yeah, first of all, let me invite you guys and all of your listeners to the last Thursday of every month at the world famous Rainbow Bar and Grill. We have almost in our 4-year residency there, and things couldn't be going any better. We love it. That's our home. They just released a new documentary about the Rainbow.
I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard about that. Got it in my keck to watch.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either, but I'm hearing some really great things about it. So when we do that event, we never know who's going to be there. I mean, we have our set musicians that come, but we've had, all stars show up. We've had, there's just a long list of people that are, just having dinner down in the restaurant, and they hear the ruckus upstairs. Actually, Tom Morello came up one time and was having food downstairs and came up, and we were begging him to play, but he wouldn't play. So we got that we got that going on. So that's www.kidsrockstudio.org. The last Thursday of the month. And then now I have a side project that I've been working on as well. I can't talk too much about it, but it is an original project, and we're actually working with a producer right now and recording. So that project should be out within the next couple of months as well. So I have to stay tight-lipped about that one. But I love it. It's metal. It's real heavy. It's all originals. And I found a nice group of guys. It's a band. Gosh, the art, we're losing this band art form.
Sure. Yeah, I know. Totally.
A band? Oh, my God.
A band. Yeah.
What is
that? Holy moly.
Older guys. So we joke and we go, what are we doing after the show? You go, we don't care about the groupies. We just want roadies.
Do you guys overlap with the Eddie Trunk LA Invasion shows at all?
Yeah, actually, one of the Thursdays that we performed, he was just wrapping that radio show, and Dave Mustaine was his guest, and Dave came up while we were setting our gear up because he's real great friends with DJ Katon from the band Hyrax, the metal band Hyrax.
Yeah.
Caton DePena.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Katon
So
rules.
shout out to Katon. So yeah, he came up and they were just wrapping up that show. So I went down and sat at the table with Eddie and Tom was there, and we just chopped it up and had a really great conversation.
Rad, because I do listen to Eddie Trunk's show, and I have heard him mention Tom many a times. So I kind of wondered whether you were in on those discussions that he talks about. He's like, yeah, me and Tom, we've been there like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning drinking and eating pizza and talking metal.
Well, see, everybody knows who Spacey T is. I mean, Soundberry, come on, these guys are legends to me. Nobody knows who Scoonie Gee is. I mean, I come in there and they're like, they still charge me double to park.
Well, Scoonie, after this podcast, everybody's going to know who you are.
Probably charge me double too, buddy.
All right, Spacey, Scoonie, Lisa Marie, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'll let you guys know as soon as this gets posted.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Good night, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Been a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. Subscribe and listen to all episodes by going to our pages on iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, and more. You can listen to all other episodes and access up-to-date information and news on the Shockwaves Skull Sessions podcast by going to our website at www.shockwaveskullsessions.com. Email all comments, questions, and suggestions to shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com.